we skip the roads?
You didn't need it?
There you go. Now we can start. Now we can. All right, we're at 7 o'clock. I'd like to call to order this meeting, December 16th, 2019. Board of Selectmen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's see, we'll start off with our public service announcements tonight. Pat, would you mind?
Okay. Wanted to announce that the town of Chelmsford will convene the 2020 Springtown meeting on Monday, April 27, 2020. Articles to be included in the warrant must be submitted in duplicate to the Office of Town Manager, 50 Baraca Road, prior to 4 p.m. on Monday, January 6, 2020. Any articles submitted after that time will not be considered by the Selectmen for inclusion on the warrant. Petitioned articles submitted by private citizens must carry the signatures of at least 10 or more certified voters of the town of Chelmsford. For more information, you can contact the town manager's office at 978-250-5201.
Thank you, Pat. And it brings us to open session. Is there anybody that would like to address the board? Please state your name and address.
Good evening, Chris Bowman, Precinct 4 Rep, 3 Julio Street.
Thank you.
I have a handout for you, so I'll give it to you after I talk, which will not be long. As you know, on June 12th of this year, the Board of Select Board had a public input session for the town-wide traffic study. At that time, a lot of residents brought forth the problems of commercial trucks using back roads and residential neighborhood roads. These are the big, heavy commercial trucks. And at that time, I suggested that the town should maybe consider establishing a commercial truck route. I followed that up with a letter to the subsequent Traffic Committee Study Chair, Mr. Mike McCall. And in that, I had more specific recommendations concerning that commercial truck route. So this is a follow-up to that letter. In that, the Massachusetts statute, MGL Chapter 85, Section 30, which basically concerns injury to a surface or way, gives the Select Board authority to establish a commercial truck route by excluding commercial trucks or restricting them from certain roads. In addition to that, there's something called the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control and Devices, which is a federal document, and there are state amendments to that, which are made by the Mass DOT. So in order to establish a commercial truck route under the authority of Chapter 8530, there's a specific procedure required by Mass DOT, which is in the amendments, the state amendments, and I include a copy of what that procedure is in this letter, so for your convenience. So I just wanted to give you this specific information and again re-emphasize the need for a commercial truck route in the town, given the continuing use of heavy commercial trucks through back roads and residential neighborhoods, and due to the continuing increase of development in the town, which will just magnify those problems. So the specific reason I wanted to mention that the city of Cambridge did establish a commercial truck route. And the specific reason given was because of truck noise and vibrations, which degrade the quality of life and safety by those commercial trucks being on roads that were never intended to handle that kind of traffic. So I appreciate your consideration, and if you have any questions, you can email me or call me as a follow-up.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will circulate this and send it to the committee.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. That brings us to committee vacancies.
I don't think she's done.
Oh,
I'm sorry, did you have a question?
I don't.
Okay.
He said thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, and thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks.
You too.
So that brings us to committee vacancies.
Okay, as of today, we have the following vacancies. The Arts and Technology Education Fund Committee has 1 vacancy. The CCA Advisory Committee has 1 vacancy. The Center Village Master Plan Implementation Committee has 1 vacancy. The Commission on Disabilities has 1 vacancy. The Community Action Program Committee has 2 vacancies. The Council on Aging has 4 vacancies for associate members. The Cultural Council can have up to 21 members. There are several vacancies presently. The Energy Conservation Committee has 1 vacancy. The Historical Commission has 1 vacancy. The Holiday Decorating Committee has 4 vacancies. The Middlesex Canal Commission has 2 vacancies. Neshoba Valley Technical High School Committee has 1 vacancy for the alternate committee member representing Chelmsford. The Parade Committee accepts all applicants. The Permanent Building Committee has 1 vacancy. The Personnel Board has 1 vacancy. The Public Celebrations Committee has 5 vacancies. The Skate Park Committee has 2 vacancies, and the Tree Committee has 1 vacancy. If you're interested in applying for a position on any of these committees, you can fill out an application online or at the town manager's office.
Thank you. That brings us to public hearings. Let's see, the first one, we have 1 Class 2 auto dealer license for MME Auto Group, doing business as A&E Auto Center.
Thank you.
So can you tell us a little bit about what you want to?
Sure,
do
I'm
up there.
open to my second location in
Can you
Chelmsford.
say your name also?
Sure, my name is Mohammed Umit. I'm open to my second location in Chelmsford. I'm looking to get a 16 parking used car license for selling. And I already have a full plan that I drop off with my paperwork. So have a 16 parking space for selling the cars, and the 5 parking space will be 3 of them for the customers, 2 of them will be for employer. Yep, that one.
I just have a couple questions
Sure.
about some of the items on the application that were either blank or whether we need them.
Sure.
So, question 2 says, is the above a concerned individual, a co-partnership, an association, or a corporation? And it was left blank.
I think I filled up all of them. I can double check all of them to fill it up.
Okay, and then question 8 says, are you a recognized agent of a motor vehicle manufacturer, to which you responded yes. And then it says state the name of the manufacturer, and you wrote Massachusetts.
I can double check those. I
Right.
think it was confusing about the having mechanic to fix the car stuff. Because my first shop, I have a mechanic that be fixing the cars, and I was confusing about that. What will be the answer? So we're not gonna be able to fix the cars in this lot right now, and it will be just a selling it. We're gonna have a mechanic in my first shop for fixing the cars.
Yeah, that's question 13 though, right?
Yes.
About repair facilities. So I'm before that, Mike, you just scroll by it.
Well, I went to his answer for 13.
Number 8 at the
Yeah,
top of that
right.
page.
Yeah, that should be if you're a new car dealer.
Right, so you're not a new car dealer,
No,
right?
it's a
So
used
that-
car
So the
dealer.
answer to that should be no, or,
It should be no, yes.
okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. And then if you go to 13, Mike, it says provide the name, address, and telephone number. So there's an address and a phone number, but what's the name of the
It's F1 Auto Sale. That's my used car lot in Abington.
F1?
F1 Auto Sale.
So can you go back to number 2, Mike? What's the answer to that question? Number 2.
Do you know how you set the business up? Is it a
Yeah,
corporation?
are you an individual? It says DBA, so is that,
That's LLC actually.
So you're an LLC.
so you're an
So it's
LLC?
MME Auto
Auto
Group
Group.
LLC,
That's right.
doing business as A&E Auto.
That's right.
That's a corporation.
So you're a corporation? Okay.
Is there any other questions?
Just out of curiosity, what's your other business in Chelmsford?
I don't have any business.
Oh, I thought you
in-
said this was the second one in Chelmsford,
Oh,
just your
that's
second one?
My second location, but first one is in Abington, Mass.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Is there, where it's a public hearing, is there anybody from the public who would like to address us? No?
Yeah, make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
We have motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Discussion?
We have a lot of used car dealerships up in that area of town.
That's
You know
true.
what happens, though, they tend to, like, I feel like business improves the more clustered, because people are looking for cars, so
Exactly.
it's been my impression.
Oh, and that building I know has been vacant now for what, 5 or 6 years at least, so.
No, it had the comic store.
No.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, last spring.
Oh, okay.
He just moved out
Okay,
maybe
I
6 months ago.
guess I missed that. Okay, make a motion that we approve a Class 2 auto dealer's license for MME Auto Group, DBA A&E Auto Center, to be exercised on the premises at 124 Tingsboro Road.
A
Thank you.
second.
We have motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, so item 6 on our agenda tonight is the Board of Selectmen Values and Vision Statement. Do you want to?
Sure. So what you have in your packet is this same approach document that we reviewed last time. Since then, Ken and Paul and I met and just put a timeline to it. So the changes are in the blue font. So what we're looking at is putting out an electronic survey for 1 or 2,
We don't have blue font.
No,
oh, you don't?
but that's okay.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Pull it up a
So
little, Mike.
the first blue font is by electronic survey. It's also bold and italics, so you should have that. We're looking at putting the survey out for 1 or 2 weeks in January, such that the subcommittee would have the information for when they meet in February. Having a public input session on January 29th, and Paul has reserved the senior center for that. Public input session 2 would then be the first week of March, on March 4th, and the subcommittee would meet once or twice in February in between those to draft the vision and value statement. So we have public input session 1, the survey, the committee will meet to draft the values and vision statements, and then we'll meet, have another public input session on March 4th where public can come and comment on that draft. And then the committee will meet after that, if necessary, to refine it and present it to the board later in March. So we just wanted to make sure that made sense to folks, and if so, we'll go forward and implement the plan. Any comments or discussion?
I know we did have some discussion last time about going through this, and we just wanted to lay it out so everybody had sort of a roadmap here we're going to follow. So any feedback is,
And I should also reiterate, so for the subcommittee, we envision 3 Board of Selectmen members, Paul and Mike, and then 2 residents at large. So if we agree that that's the right makeup, Paul will also work on getting the application set up for the resident members. Okay.
that was easy. Thank you, Virginia.
Yep.
All right, Paul, Town Manager Bid Awards.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have one item for you this evening. It's the seasonal Public Works materials and services. They're in your packet. I would seek the board's confirmation of the bids, and however, we are going to hold 2 items due to a bid protest. So basically, just walking through them, we're seeking the award for the crack sealing to Superior Seal Coat, which at $8.39 a gallon. That's the same vendor as the current year, which, however, the price was $8 for the current year. For item number 2, the catch basin cleaning, the bidder is New England Stormwater Management at $23 per basin. That's different than our current vendor, which was J. Parker Catch Basin at $12.72 a basin.
Why so much? I mean, I remember them being so much
Yeah.
less. Is it because of all the additional stuff you have to do now for stormwater? Or
We
does that
think
play-
the demand for services is driven because of the stormwater requirements.
Okay.
So we've got Public Works sort of looking into the possibility of, is this something that we can perform ourselves in terms of
Because
paying
we
a
have
piece of
what?
equipment?
Oh, yeah, 5,000, yeah.
That's a significant price, so
Yeah.
we'll seek that
So
award.
what happened to the current guy? Didn't submit a bid?
No, he didn't submit a bid. Yeah. So again, what you're seeing are all the listed bidders, so. On item number 3, which are the traffic markings, the first, we're seeking the bid award to Markings, Inc. You can see it's double painted, double center lines. You can see the $27,500. The current year price for that quantity was $20,500. For the white 4-inch edge line at $8,400. The current price on that is $7,700. For the thermoplastic yellow 4-inch center lines, it's $8,900. That's a significant in price per linear foot, which of .89. The current bid price was .38, so it's $3,800. For thermoplastic solid 4-inch edge lines, $9,200. The current bid price is $7,600 at 38 cents a linear foot as opposed to 46 cents. For thermoplastic solid white or yellow 4-inch handicap parking spaces, that's $950. The current 95 cents a linear foot. The current price is 50 cents a linear foot for $500. For a painted solid yellow, white, or yellow handwork parking spaces, 28 cents a linear foot. That's up from 20 cents per linear foot, so that price went from $1,500 to $2,100. For thermoplastic solid 12-inch lines, we went from $165 a linear foot to $295 a linear foot at $44.25 versus $24.75. And for thermoplastic white left or right or straight arrows, that went down from $120 to $85 for each arrow. So it just goes to show you that just the volatility out there.
In the future, when you do this, could
Yeah.
you do current,
Okay, sure, okay, yeah.
That'd be
new,
helpful.
and then total in the right
Right.
column where it says total, just total them up for us?
All right, I'll have DPW actually do it, because what it was, they submitted this, and then you see, having been through this before, I sort of went and marked the question.
Yeah, but I mean, it's great, like, if I ever want to go back and now I got to go find the meeting minutes, read them,
Okay, so I'll have them
as
do
opposed
that.
to just keeping this.
Okay, on number 4, vertical granite curb, it's the same vendor, it's Allied Paving. However, the price went from $35.90 per linear foot to $44.90. Item number 5 is the paving. And the first item, you can see there's a number of vendors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vendors. The first one, bituminous concrete excavating by Cold Planer, with approximately 45,000 square yards. The recommended bid award is $2 to PJ Albert. The current bid price was the same vendor at $1.80 per square yard. The next item, in place recycling bituminous concrete, we're asking to hold that for now. The low bid as submitted was by P.J. Albert. The bid price, you can see there was $1. The current price was $1.90. So the next lowest bidder, one of the next lowest bidders, Sunshine Paving, has submitted a bid protest. So we will have to go into the Attorney General's office. It was supposed to be in 2 weeks, but because of the holiday period, they've asked for a delay in that. So we're asking to hold on that item.
So
Yeah.
how does that work?
Basically, they submit a bid protest, and their bid protest basically said they didn't understand how a vendor could perform the work at that price. I don't want to speak anything more to that. We've been through bid protests in the past, so I'll report back results of that. Maybe not at your next meeting, given the delay, but probably in later January or beginning of
So
February.
bid protest, he's just questioning the rate someone else gave.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how does that resolve?
Well, the AG makes a determination, was there a defect in the bid? Basically, what happens is you have to provide the quantities, and you have to pay prevailing wage if it's a
Right.
wage job and so forth. And so anybody has a right to a protest hearing. So
Okay.
there's a protest on this one, and then on 2 months from now on the adjustments casting the grade. Same thing, the low bid was submitted by P.J. Albert at $140, which is the current bid price. Sunshine Paving, which submitted $200 each, has filed a bid protest on the same basis. So again, those are being held. The others aren't being protested, so the one in between those two, Type 1 bituminous concrete in place, machine place, 7,500 tons. The low bidder is P.J. Albert at $70.
No, Sunshine Paving, 69 on that one.
The current bid is $66 per ton by P.J. Albert. But see, it's all combined quantities.
Right,
You
right.
can see, and then
So you award to one.
the award to one, exactly. And so you can see the total in the right-hand column. So anyway, we'll be holding the in-place recycling bituminous concrete and adjustment castings to grade. And then on the next page, the item number 6, bituminous concrete in place, machine place 4 to 7 foot width. Of the 5 bids, the lowest was by Pavex at a $1.09 per ton. That's slightly lower than $114 per ton by P.J. Albert, which bid $154 per ton for the same work this year. And then item number 7, bituminous concrete top and binder course. You can see there were 4 bids submit. The lowest bid was by Brock's Industry at $7 per ton. That's the same vendor who currently is providing it for $68 per ton. And then item number 8, Type 1 bituminous concrete handwork, approximately 1,000 tons. You can see there were 7 bids on that. The low bid was submitted by Pavex at $125 per ton. The current bid on that was $130 per ton by P.J. Albert, who this year bid $154 per ton. And then the last one is item number 9, bituminous concrete berm in place, approximately 1,000 feet. The lowest bid of the 4 was P.J. Albert at $5 per foot. That's the current same vendor at $4 per ton. So we'd ask the board's confirmation of those bid awards, and again, I'll return with a resolution on the 2 items that are currently in bid protest.
I'm amazed at the differences in rates.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they're almost reversed, like somebody who is the outlier in one sheet is almost the lowest bid in the next. That's surprising.
I can't explain other than this, it may be just work they do or do not want to do. I mean, it's just a question.
It might be,
What
yeah.
also, what other commitments they may have to other towns or other work out there.
That would make sense.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the town manager's bid awards as presented, excluding those 2 that are under protest.
I'll second.
A motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Under my report, I just have 4 items that touch upon you, and then Michael has one for a total of 5. First one is back at the November 4th meeting, I brought to the board's attention that the town has exceeded its sewer capacity that's treated at the Greater Lowell wastewater facility. And last Monday, a meeting was held in my office where we brought town council Paul Haverty in. Steve Yonley and Gary Perschetti from Public Works. Evan Belansky was there, and we sort of looked at the current contract and then sort of how to proceed, given what the work that's out there and the vacancies we have on 129. And the conclusion is, and that's what you see the topic is our conclusion is to really get a handle on this, we really need to have a study of what the town's future sewer capacity needs are likely to be, given the amount of projects that are potentially ahead of us. So we've asked Public Works to get a proposal from Weston and Sampson, who obviously was involved with the construction of the sewer project, and is familiar with the capacity issues out there. So I hope to have further information for you after the first of the year in terms of what that study will cost and how we'll proceed with that. It looks like whatever the outcome is probably going to be all the above category, where it's going to be perhaps obtaining additional capacity, perhaps doing some issues to prevent or mitigate infiltration into our current system, and other issues of reduction of sewer utilization, and perhaps other novel ideas such as on-site package treatment plants and so forth. So it's likely that scenario is going to be all of the above. When we get further information, obviously we're going to bring in the Board of Health, which is sort of involved with the sewer connections in terms of a health standard, in terms of the ability to connect. Also, we've asked Paul Haverty to review the town's sewer bylaws and see if those need updating and revision to town meeting in terms of what may be required. So again, I just wanted to let the board know that this is an ongoing issue that we're examining, because it does tremendously shape the future development of the community. So that's what I have for you under that topic this evening. Under the next item, North Fire Station renovation and expansion, I want to let the board know that I plan to request that the Permanent Building Committee begin the exploration of the renovation and expansion of the North Fire Station as we go into the new year. Whatever future the town holds in terms of fire station operation, North Fire Station will be a constant in that solution, whether we have 5 stations, 4, 3, in the future of the town. And clearly, the North Fire Station, in all scenarios, remains in place, and it's also the oldest fire station, having been constructed in 1956. And so in discussing with Chief Ryan, our plan is to let's get a handle on what needs to be done out there in terms of making that a facility that can serve the town as we go into the third decade of the 21st century, in terms of sufficient space for the housing of firefighters of both generations in today's standards, as well as the meeting and utilization and training and other needs for a fire station today. So, and we think that by examining that will at least, one is it'll put us on the path to renovating that station. It'll also give us insights into what work will be required at future substations, whatever that may be. So I just wanted to let the board know, much like the previous issue, that it's something that we'll be jumping on board with the new calendar year, in terms of what the town's needs are. Particularly as we looked the other night, we are in a position of declining debt, particularly not only excluded debt, but in a couple of years non-excluded debt. So again, I think it's prudent, and again, discussing with Chief Ryan and John Souza, our finance director, we think it's important at this point to begin the examination of the North Fire Station.
Can you remind me where we are with we were going to put together a safety committee to evaluate all this. How did
Right. We've not taken any action on that. We have an executive session this evening where they'll bring the board to date where the negotiations are with the firefighters union, and we in terms of how we can best proceed. So my sense is
But are we
probably hold
waiting on
off.
that committee until you come to terms with the firefighters contract, or does that matter?
I think it does matter, and I think we may have a better insight in terms of once we have our discussion this evening on where we are with collective bargaining. So again, this is something we'll be meeting on January 6th, so nothing's going to happen between now and January 6th on those efforts anyway.
Okay.
So-
What does, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just, you're looking at the North Fire Station as purely building maintenance, and it will have no bearing on anything the committee decides?
Oh, no,
That's
no,
the-
it's clearly, what I said earlier is it's the North Fire Station is in the town's future regardless of what the town does in the
Regardless, yeah.
future. And where it's the oldest station and and the studies that we've all seen to date indicate that that is a permanent location. And therefore, it makes sense that that be the one that we look at right now, and that may give us insights into the other station or stations as we go forward. So I think it's important to begin there.
What are we looking at with the building committee? Are we looking at options? And the reason I'm asking, Paul, is we had this preliminary study done, and then we said we were going to put a committee in place. And so against what requirements is the building committee looking at expansion and renovation? Because I would think that would be different depending on whether we keep 5 fire stations or 4 or 3, right? Like, I guess I'm just wondering if we're getting ahead of ourselves, if we should know what the overall.
I don't think so.
Picture
I don't
looks
think so with
like.
that location. Much like the Center Fire Station, there's no talk of any change in capacity at the Center Fire Station in terms of the space.
Okay.
At the North Fire Station, you know, you'd be looking at housing no more than 6 or 8 firefighters there under any scenario.
And that would be extreme emergency.
Exactly.
Right.
And so therefore, it does make sense in terms of to proceed with that. Where you go beyond that really does matter in terms of how many stations you're keeping. But regardless of what scenario the town has in terms of future stations, you know, your core space is going to be constant in terms of your apparatus bay, your training areas and so forth. And really, when you're looking at the amount of living spaces, the idea between 6 or 8 or what have you is really not material in terms of the overall scenario.
It's just, because now you're doing
Exactly.
single bedrooms, so now
Exactly.
it's just a question of single bedrooms?
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying? So
Exactly.
it's 2 additional single bedrooms versus,
So
Exactly.
what's the output that the?
Basically, they're going to give us a conceptual cost. In other words, we're looking at, you know, what are we looking at to renovate and expand that station? Order of magnitude.
Okay.
We're not looking at detailed drawings, architectural drawings,
they don't just
design.
come back with one. They come back and say, well, here's the
Exactly.
cost for a 6-bedroom, here's the cost for an 8-bedroom.
Exactly,
So it'll give us a range of options.
exactly.
That's fine.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking at, that level of magnitude. We're not asking for detailed drawings and bid documents. We're looking at, what are we looking at here? Are we looking
So
at
then
$2
if
million? Are we looking at $4 million? That kind of an order of magnitude.
So if it's appropriate at some point for a committee, a TBD committee, or someone else to weigh in, we still have time to do that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They're just getting the first pass.
They're actually giving you a
order
head
of
start.
magnitude
Yeah,
on
they're
it.
really giving you a
Okay.
head start in terms of what is it going to
This is
take.
non-binding. It's just a
Right.
ballpark figure.
And not.
This is what it could be.
Not significant cost. I mean, if we were looking at the design developments and
It's not going to get down to
feasibility-
$1 a square foot. It's going to
Right.
get down, to
Right.
So,
If
yeah.
we're looking at that kind of thing, now you're talking six-figure appropriations from town meeting.
Right.
That's not what we're looking at this point. We just want them to get out there, you know, give us an order of magnitude of what is it that we're looking at in terms of, you know, examination of the building by an experienced building committee. You know, like we've done in some other projects in the past.
Okay.
Next item, electric vehicle charging stations fee schedule. I'm going to turn it over to Michael.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. If you just give me 1 second, I have a couple of slides here. Last week when we were here, or last meeting when we were here, you asked me a couple questions about the fees associated with the electrical vehicle charging station. So I'd said that I would just have to go back and pull out some of my notes to find out what we did 2 years ago. And so when we implemented the fee 2 years ago, we started with a rate to recoup the cost for the electricity. At that time, our energy resource manager was Christopher Ilsley. He and I looked at the rate that the town was paying. We pay a service delivery fee to National Grid, as well as a portion of a fee that goes to, it was then Eversource, I believe. That fee really hasn't changed. It's approximately 19 cents right now. And what we decided at the time, based on the average session length that I was monitoring through ChargePoint, our average session length is just under 2 hours. It currently is still under 2 hours, so we decided to let the first 2 hours be free. And for anybody who parked after 2 hours, there would be $1 an hour parking fee. And so, just by way of illustration, I put in a couple of charts here just to show what happened. You can see starting December 1st of 2017, our revenue for that particular month was about $225. Once people started realizing there was a fee, it dropped off.
Shocker.
And so I do have a trend line in black and the 6-month moving average is in red. So you can see it's bounced around somewhat seasonally, but we really on an average, we're getting about $150 a month. It's covering the cost of the electricity. It doesn't, I looked at it, it does not cover the cost of the software tokens that we pay for to, that's the software that runs the various stations. We pay about $1,400 a year additional monies to get the updated software from ChargePoint. Just so you're aware, over time, this shows how the energy usage has played out. We started using the charging stations approximately 7 years ago, and as more and more people started taking advantage of them, obviously the amount of usage went up, and then you can see again in December of 2017, the amount of energy we were expending at the stations dropped off dramatically. And then there's a correlation between the number of user sessions as well. So once that fee went into place, you can see on the trend line in the 6-month moving average that the number of users dropped off dramatically. And so to anticipate a couple of questions, I did go out, I looked on the ChargePoint map, I looked at approximately 100 charging stations in and around the Merrimack Valley. And of those 100, only 26 were charging fees. And out of that 26, only 11 were municipalities. It was UMass Lowell in their parking garages in the town of Chelmsford.
So when you say they're charging fees, were they charging a per rate per kilowatt or a fee to park?
I believe the UMass Lowell is just a fee to park. We were the only one that had the combined.
We're the only one that has combined.
As a municipality, City of Lowell's not charging at their stations. Tingsboro was not. Some of the others. Westford doesn't appear to have a municipal station. So it appears that the few that are doing it are private parking garages. There were some down around Bedford and Burlington, and they do have an hourly rate, but I didn't see a per kilowatt. The thought process at the time, just working, as I said, with Christopher Ilsley was to get a fee for people who stay for a long time, but also to recover the costs.
So what's the average fee you're seeing out there by municipality? Kilowatt fee?
There aren't really any others that I saw. I just saw parking rates which can vary anywhere from $1 an hour to flat fees.
So nobody else was charging municipality for the electricity, they were just parking?
I didn't see any because it was just us and UMass Lowell in the immediate area.
In non-municipal?
Non-municipal, it would vary depending upon the location. And some of them were down around 3rd Avenue that were charging several dollars for a fee after so many hours. And my suspicion is that's to motivate people to move, so
Right.
there's turnover.
Or were they
for
charging an
customers.
electric charge?
I did not see that. What I did note was that although the average session length continues to be just under 2 hours, you'll notice that 65% of all people using our stations are charged and gone by 2 hours, and 75%, or slightly over 75, are gone by 3 hours. So if you're really looking to eliminate people parking overnight, you might want to move your fee up to about 3 hours, and that would probably protect most of the people who are using. If you were looking to adjust the fee and remove the per kilowatt and to not penalize the people who are using on a regular basis, I would suggest we move the parking fee, if we still want to keep it, up to about 3 hours. That would not hit the people that are actually just charging and leaving. And we're generating about $225, $250 a month at most when we have those peak months. Otherwise, it's, I think, just under $200 a month. So we're just over $2,000 a year is what we're generating. But we've lost probably 50% of the people that were using it before.
So we're generating $2,000 a year in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And what's our annual cost?
Right now, we're trying to run break even where we're paying off.
No, we're
our
trying to, but what's software tokens and all that? How much are we?
Another $1,400. So you're looking at less than $4,000 a year if you wanted to just run it and not charge a fee. That's the cost of the town. And if we went back up, getting the number of users that we had, you might have another $1,500 or so, I would guess, in additional kilowatt or megawatt hours added onto that.
But you said the number of users went up. Or did it
I would
go down?
anticipate if we remove the fee, we would see double the usage. So if we have about $2,000 a year in energy costs, that would probably double to 4,000 plus the 1,400 in software costs
You're talking
per
about the
year.
parking fee. We keep intermingling parking fee and kilowatt charge.
No, I'm not.
So which one are we?
I'm only talking about energy. You asked about
All right, so you want to, so if we remove the energy fee, the cost per kilowatt, then you think are you saying, how much do you think it will go back up?
So we're only charging if people aren't staying past 2 hours, there's no parking fee associated with it. And most people are staying less than 2 hours. So we're generating just under $200 a month in energy fees, which is going to recoup our costs. I anticipate if we went back to free charging, that the amount of users would double. So our energy costs would double as well. So we would be looking at approximately $400 a month, or somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000 a year in energy costs if we were to go back to having free charging.
Yeah, I don't want to go back to that. But what I'm looking at in your chart and my thought process is you have two types of people charging here. You have the people who are looking at this and saying, it's in the area, so I'm just going to charge. And then you're making a little bit of fees from people who are going over the 2 hours. So my thought in this is there's probably some statistical sweet spot here where if your rate was a little bit lower, you'd actually make enough money to cover the costs, and then you could pepper in, you'd get some people that would actually park more than 3 hours. So I agree with you. I think if we raised it to 3 hours and dropped the cost, say, down to like 12 cents per kilowatt hour, you might get people looking around saying, oh, I'm not going to get whacked the parking, so I'm going to take the 12 cents and we'll generate more revenue than what we were generating. And you'll have the one-offs where you catch someone who lets the car sit after 3 hours and has to pay the parking fee too. I don't think we need to go to make it free, but in the conversations I've had with people is they said 18 is too expensive. I can find it cheaper elsewhere, so they drive. But if you
Did you look at the average kilowatt cost?
he didn't find any, he said.
Well, I didn't look, I don't know what other people are charging. I was looking at municipalities and what they were charging for fees, and there weren't other municipalities. I didn't look at all the private. I'm just going for some off the top of my head, trying to remember what they were charging, but most were just charging parking fees.
How difficult is it to change these parameters?
I can go on in about 5 minutes,
And that gets
going-
updated to the main public site how quickly?
almost instantaneously. There's a whole dashboard that you go in and you set rules. It's a whole formula, if then that.
Right.
So if you're there for 2 hours, it's this. If you're there, so we can set that up. What I would then do, like we did last time, is we would put it out on all of our social media, and we can also send a message out to each one of the charging stations where it displays on the LED as you go to swipe your card. We've updated our fees, this is what they are, and there is a user map for anybody who uses ChargePoint where they can look and see an icon associated with every charging station. It explains all the fees, so someone could be able to find that pretty quickly.
I don't know about dropping it like 30%.
Well, from what I understand, is 18 is really expensive, to the
So
point where
is-
someone would rather drive to Burlington than stop here and charge for 18.
So did they tell you what Burlington is?
No, I'm curious, as I'm sitting here, what ChargePoint's going to, because I know ChargePoint does show it, and when they said that, we were in a master plan committee meeting, and I said, well, show me. So the guy pulled up ChargePoint,
Sure.
and he said, look, it's 18 cents. And that's
Yeah.
when I thought Mike had said, no, we get the first 2 hours free, but
Oh,
I don't-
it was parking, I was
It's
mistaken.
parking,
Yeah.
so
right.
the parking is free, but you're still charging for the kilowatt hour. So if we drop it down to 16 cents, would that make more sense?
When the whole notion of having a fee came up 2 years ago, the mission I took away was to ensure that we didn't have people parking overnight or for long periods of time, and to make sure that we were recouping our costs.
Right.
So I sat down with the energy manager, and we came up with the 18 cents based on what we were paying on average on a monthly basis for kilowatt hours for the town. when
Okay.
we pay our energy bills. So that's where the numbers came from. So, if the board wants me to change or look for some different formula, I can go back and look at what some of the other private entities are charging and come back with a better spreadsheet. I
Yeah, I
just went
thought
up.
the charge point had it all listed. Like, you could just go on and click on different sites and see what they were charging.
Yeah, but you one at a time, you go out and click, so it's just.
Okay. So, I'd be more interested, rather than just shots in the dark, I'd rather actually have some data and just to know what a more average rate is. I think it's a service that you have to charge for, like it's electricity, like you gotta pay for electricity. So, I mean,
Yeah, I don't think we can go back to doing it for free.
No, because the goal is with the vehicle's charged there and it's fully charged, no electricity is going out.
Right.
But the space is being occupied.
No, I think,
Right,
I
so that
think
was the whole
a
idea.
dollar an
You
hour
didn't want
after,
overnight
yeah, no, I
parking.
think $1 an hour after 3 hours is fine, if you're not trying to double penalize the people who are legit charging. But we still have to pay for the electricity, so.
I'll do a little more research, Mr. Chairman, and I'll get you, try and put it in a spreadsheet that we can bring in here, and then we can look at it. It's just, the formatting wasn't working for the slide I wanted to bring. I would have brought a spreadsheet of what the various fees and who is and isn't charging, but I'll get something a little better for
Does
next.
ChargePoint also show you what people are charging for parking, or just for the electricity?
I haven't found an easy way to download this, so what I've been able to do is I've just been going to the sites and taking the information off, and they do show their, they show the various fees in the breakdown.
You don't have to drive to these different sites to
No,
look
no,
at-
no, no,
no,
Okay,
no,
all
no,
right.
Because any electric car user that wants to, you can go online
Yeah,
and
you can
look up where.
look, yeah, that would make, okay.
It's like Google Maps, but
Right,
it'll
you've gotta-
have
you've
little
gotta click the
icons.
pin,
You
okay.
can look, and you can look based on the charging station type. There are different types,
Got it,
fast chargers, based on your vehicle. There's a whole lot of options.
okay.
So
Please find an average kilowatt hour cost.
we'll do.
Okay, well, we'll continue to-
I was just trying to see if you could easily pull it up, but you can't. Anyways, all right. Thank you,
Okay,
Michael.
Final two items. One is, since our last meeting on December 4th, we did receive from the Department of Housing and Community Development the biennial inventory update of the town's subsidized housing inventory. Under where we are today, under their guidelines, we now stand at 9.75%. And before anybody gets alarmed that we've fallen below the 10% threshold, it's really the way of how they determine what remains on the inventory. And basically, what happens is if 12 months go by from when the permits have been issued and there has been a building permit issued, then they fall off. And in speaking to Evan Belansky, our Community Development Director, there are projects that are going underway that'll kind of push us back over the 10%. So I just wanted to let the board know that this document is out there as submitted as of November 1st, and that's where we are stand. So we're still within our meeting the annual housing construction requirement, and also, we are above our 10% threshold. And so what ends up happening, the ones you can see on the chart where they see the total subsidized units, all of a sudden become zero. So that's where, like Beaverbrook Crossing, for example, 50 Hunt Road, we know that's in the construction phase, but it's listed as zero because the time has lapsed. Same thing with 7 Gorm Pine View condominiums. We know that is in the process, and so forth. So just wanted to let the board know is that we did receive this updated inventory. So again,
Why is Edward Bell Estates at zero? Is that built?
I don't believe that project has been undertaken.
No.
It's been permitted, but it's not
That's the
been
one right
built.
next to his house.
That's 73 Dalton.
I was thinking.
No, that's the one at 73 Dalton. That's correct, so.
Paul,
Yes.
so they call out what's rental and what's ownership.
Yes.
Do they, when they calculate the percentage, do they differentiate or weigh those differently?
Yes, yeah, if it's a rental project, 100% of the units qualify for the inventory. If it's home ownership, only the 25% count for the inventory.
Now, we are still under a safe harbor. though,
Yes,
right?
exactly, yeah, that doesn't change, but they do send us this biannual update. And then the last item I have is also since our last meeting in terms of the legislature passed the final supplemental fiscal year 18 budget, and in that budget, there was an additional $100,000 for business development grant funding for the town of Chelmsford. So again, I want to recognize Representative Golden, who led that initiative on behalf of the town, in conjunction with the remainder of our delegation to get that funding secured.
So it's an additional.
Additional, and again, within the current fiscal year, so those monies need to be allocated by June 30th, and we're hopeful that after the first of the year, obviously at this point, but we're hoping in January, or certainly no later than beginning of February, we will be in here with a grant award with Lisa Maroney in terms of subsidized, a business development grant award.
So is the thought that when you come in January with Lisa, that's the $100,000 that was originally
Yeah, the
put out there?
initial 100,
You're
exactly.
gonna now, you're not gonna double that to 200,
No.
you're gonna come up with another use for this funding?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, thank
Well
you.
done, Paul.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks to our delegation.
Yeah, and then number 9 under my appointments, I just have a set of appointments. This is sort of annual, even though we just finished the Holiday Decorating Committee reappointments. So I'd ask your approval of the committee appointments for a term expiring December 31st, 2020, as listed.
Make a motion that we approve the town manager's appointments to the Holiday Decorating Committee as presented.
And
A
of course,
second.
and of course, that includes Vivian Merrill, and who's
Thank
here
you.
with us this evening, Eric, Sharon Smith, John Floria, Connie Stansfield, and Allison Ludwig. They did a great job this year. Yeah.
You gonna ask for a vote?
Second, sorry.
Oh, okay.
A motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Sorry, folks, I have a wicked cold. It's horrible.
All right, so now we have some meeting minutes.
Make a motion that we approve the regular meeting minutes for September 23rd, 2019.
I will second.
Motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll make a motion that we approve but not release the executive session meeting minutes for December 2nd, 2019.
I'll second.
Motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, Selectmen liaison reports and referrals?
Nothing tonight.
Nothing? George? Emily?
Nothing right now. I'm so sorry.
Pat?
I just have one. Last Saturday, I attended an Eagle Court of Honor for Joshua Esperanza, our newest Eagle in the town of Chelmsford, so congratulations to Joshua.
Thank you. And only one I have is Thursday night is the Master Plan Committee. If anybody would like to come on in, we appreciate feedback from the public, so we're moving through it sort of chapter at a time, so we can't encourage enough for the residents to come on in and participate. All right, with that, any press questions? No press.
Okay, I make a motion that we adjourn to executive session, not to return to open session for the purposes of strategy with respect to litigation and for Markham versus the town of Chelmsford, strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the firefighters union, and consider the acquisition of real property.
A second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Nope.
Roll call.
Roll call?
Aye.
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 Adios, folks.